Greetings, wonderful viewers, and of course, welcome to another episode of Business in Africa here on Africa Renaissance TV with me, Muhammed B Badjie. Well, today is a special one. Today we'll be having a panel discussion where I have these two gentlemen. My bosses actually, my boss in ARTV and my boss from India. So we'll be discussing about record keeping. You know, record keeping is very vital as far as entrepreneurial and business development is concerned in Africa. So to have more details on this, follow us as we bring lights on this with my two able guests here. On my right hand side, I have Basiru Jallow. Basiru Jallow was the former president at GAM former vice president, of course, in India. And also on my left hand side, we have the face of ARTV, the host of sustainability track here on Africa Renaissance TV, Muhammed B Badjie. So we'll be discussing about record keeping. So I will allow my guests to introduce themselves, then we can kickstart. I will start from my right hand side, Mr. Basiru Jallow. Welcome to Business in Africa.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yes.
Honestly, when you asked me to come here, I was like, okay, like this is an opportunity actually to just meet a friend, because that's what I would say.
Sure.
But since you came to Gambia, I think we have not met you.
Yeah, this is the first time we are meeting, and first time on Africa Renaissance TV also. So my boss, welcome to Business in Africa.
Well, thank you, Mohamed Seriba and Mr. Jallow too. It's good to be here and in a different seat actually. I'm not as a host like I'm normally seated here to welcome guests, but today as a guest, it's an important avenue for me to be here. Like you said, I am Muhammed B Badjie. Today I am here in my capacity as a guest, and then I am honored to be here in Business in Africa.
Just to remind you, I guess, and then
I will definitely try to keep the guest status as much as possible.
Yes, so whenever I ask, actually, I'm the boss.
Most definitely.
So okay, before we start, before we go into the topic, just tell the viewers who Basiru is, and then what are the activities that you are involved in.
All right. Thank you so much once again. Before going any further, I would want to thank the host, Africa Renaissance. I think it's high time, all over the years, actually, Renaissance has always been a factor which drives almost everything, I can say.
Sure.
If you look at the European Renaissance, even, in fact, most of the developments that we see today in Europe are as a result of that, But the most important thing is about like the unity that they have always worked on. And I think that is one thing which is really lacking in the Gambia to some extent. So it's always like an honor actually to be invited in such occasions. So my name is Basiru Jallow, and I actually graduated from Nusrat High School. I also finished my Arabic school in Taliming Mahad in 2016. So I went to the University of the Gambia. I was majoring in economics and minoring in mathematics for 2 semesters when I was awarded the scholarship opportunity to study in India. So I have been there studying Bachelor in Commerce with accountancy major, I should say. Now I'm in the Gambia, finally, working with WAVE. I think almost everyone now knows what WAVE is. So probably towards the end of the session, we will be dealing more about that.
So at the end of the topic, we will discuss about some better questions surrounding WAVE. It was great. We met in India. We met once, and also we've been communicating. We've been working together towards that. So now to my will I say my guest or my boss?
Yeah, my capacity as guest.
So you can still introduce yourself to our viewers, even though you are the face of the But you can still introduce yourself.
Well, that's an important one. Like I said, I am Muhammed B Badjie. To be here on Business in Africa, to have a conversation around record keeping is a vital one. My background is, as far as this topic is concerned, is pretty much straightforward. I am an accountant. I am also serving currently as the Chief Finance Officer of Capital Express, the Gambia. And through that, I have engaged in a lot of finance and record keeping aspects. So I think it will be interesting to talk about record keeping today.
So these gentlemen here are both into accounting field. So we will be dealing with this topic as far as business development is concerned. So Mr. Basiru, what do you think is the meaning of, what do you think is meant by record keeping?
I think record keeping, first off, many people confuse it with bookkeeping, which are actually 2 separate things. In fact, it's not even the same as accounting. So because when you talk about record keeping, just the words itself, they generally define what it is. Like you are recording things and keeping them for probably future references or whatsoever. So it's just all about how you log, store informations actually, and all financial records as well. And the records may not only be like, these transactions that you are doing, but also the other things that go along with it. Like example, receipts. Like for example, you purchase something, you have a receipt that would show at least. So the receipts, you have the invoices, the contractual documents, almost everything. So in a nutshell, I would say record keeping is just how you log, store information for future reference to ensure that, like when you are dealing with your investors, or maybe you are looking for a loan, or maybe your suppliers, you want to get something from them, you are always able to present something to ensure that this is what you are actually engaged on. So yeah.
So records keeping it's a broad, as you've highlighted. It doesn't only mean financial or bookkeeping per se. So even like how do you call it, diary. Diary can also serve in the form of record keeping. So we all know record keeping is vital. So can you take us through the importance of record keeping as far as business development is concerned?
That's quite important. It's a relevant question to ask given the topic. Like my brother rightly mentioned, talking of our record keeping, it's one thing that is so big that we can talk about for a long time. Looking at the importance of records, like he said, this is not just a financial information that we are looking to record as businessmen. Record keeping has gone beyond finances. It includes contractual details, it includes employment details, and so on. So I want to talk of this. When you look at one of the prominent importance of record keeping for a businessman, any businessman out there, from a small-scale businessman to corporations or governments generally, it's important to note that to have a successful business, and one of the importance of having a good record-keeping system would be for legal compliance. Every business would need to have certain information that you can always have as a backup, as a source document to your regulators, to the tax authorities, to the auditors, and even to the stakeholders like your shareholders. You need to provide them information when they need that information. So that is an important aspect. You also need information as far as the customer is concerned, for the customer details. You are transacting with a customer in whatever kind of business you are doing, being in product-based businesses or services, you would deal with customers, and it's going to be a very important angle for a businessman to keep those details, from the customer names, the customer details as far as transactions are concerned. Like he said, this could include receipts, invoices, transaction details such as like the purchase orders, contractual orders. Those are very important aspects of them. And then also going beyond, even you can look at this at the judicial level for a business, going on the other side of the legal requirements as far as businesses are concerned.
Even the renewal of a business also.
Those are relevant parts of it. It's important when you want to deal with tax collectors, auditors, you want to deal with your regulators. These are some of the things that are important.
Sure.
But there is also a benefit to this, that if you are like in business, you can always be into legal engagements. You could have someone sue or be sued as a business.
Sure.
Anytime you are going to present your case in a law system or in a court of law, you would need documents to support you. That I have bought a particular asset, or I purchased a particular asset. This is what shows that I am the owner. Or we've made payment to our creditors. What shows that you've actually paid? There should be that evidence, and you don't have any of this without record keeping. And we can talk about the importance. Like we have so many of them. Like
Sure.
maybe this could be the last one. When you look at the management level of employees, you would need information about them. You have people that are working in your organization. You would need to know information about their certificates. You need information about their payroll. You need certificate information about their health status. Like you have a lot of information that you can write about your employees that would really go a long way to support your business as a businessman. So we can have a lot of them.
So we can talk about the importance as far as record keeping is concerned. It's actually what pushes business forward, because there are a lot of things that are recorded, and they are needed for posterity, for future references. Now, Mr. Basiru, do you think not keeping record can affect business? And then if so, why? Like if whether not keeping record can affect the productivity of a business.
In fact, I would not say whether I think, but I know for a fact that not keeping records definitely will not lead to efficiency of a business. Because let's say, as a business, what is our sole aim? That is to make profit,
Make
right?
profit, so.
So if you don't know actually like your expenses, your actual expenses, you don't know how much you have actually been spending. Let's just say you are just putting in your capital every day. How will you know whether you are profitable or not? And with this record keeping, it actually helps you to know where you stand. And probably if you are planning for success, maybe in the future, where are you heading to? What are the things? Because at the end of the day, when you are keeping your records, like for whatever transaction you do, you are keeping everything, archiving it. So you will be able to tell, okay, probably let's say last month, this is what I have incurred in my expenses, and this is what I actually have earned through sales or whatsoever. So from there, you can compare, okay, these expenses that I am doing, okay, probably I'm spending so much on marketing. Is the marketing yielding anything for me? Then you are able to make important decisions to say, okay, probably this is not worth it. Let me cut on this part of expense or whatsoever. So from there, you are able to do so many things to know where you are standing.
So,
And
not to cut you short, I've received a testimony from a businesswoman rather.
okay.
She is having poultry, but she has not been keeping record. So after the sales, she don't know how much she earns. She don't know the profit that whether she make profit or she make. So I think
That's true.
that's very vital.
And also not only in terms of like knowing where you stand and where you are heading to, but let's say like now, especially business, I can say in Africa, sometimes you don't necessarily have to be the only one putting in the capital. Because if you look at your financial statement, like probably like your balance sheet, you have the liabilities together with the equity added together. That should equals your asset, right? So it's not necessarily mean that you are the only one who should put in your capital to run your business. But sometimes you have these liabilities. Maybe you want to talk to investors to help you at least expand your business, or maybe you want to get loans from your suppliers or even from the bank or whatsoever. But you need records to be able to show, yes, actually, I am worth having this investment from you or whatsoever. So without that record, you are going nowhere. Unless you say in the event maybe you want to sell your company. The valuation of your company depends fully on like the records that you have been keeping. Because at the end of the day, if you have not been keeping records, it would be difficult to tell them, okay, this is an opportunistic business whereby once you guys take over, you'll be able to make higher things later when and all those things. So I think
that's very important. The valuation of a business, of course, depends on the record that you keep. If not the record, nobody will know the value of your business. So, Mr. B Badjie, take us through the kinds of particulars that are recorded, like the items that are recorded, as far as business is concerned.
Well, that's quite more. Like you said, business generally have over the years has developed a lot, and records have played a good role as far as this shift is concerned in terms of transformation for the better cause, of course. So those are important. So some of the records details that are types of records, if you would like to put that kept as far as businesses are concerned. This is something that we could go as low as possible for any businessman out there, look at the local level. What are some of the records that they need to keep? Firstly, it's important to understand that businesses must keep financial information or financial records, we call them. This would include, like we said at the beginning, receipts for your transactions, especially your cash transactions. Invoices are also important. Financial statements in terms of balance sheets that you prepare, in terms of profit and loss statements that you prepare. These are important statements that you prepare as far as finances is concerned. In fact, others will go on to tell you that an important part of financial records that you keep as a businessman includes the payroll system. You have employees that are working for you as an organization or as a business that you pay on monthly basis, whether it is on salary basis or on wages. So this information is important because there are many stakeholders that have interest in the way you operate, and for that reason you need to keep records. We can take this as an example. The government authorities, especially through their tax agents or authorities, have that interest in the income tax that you pay on your staff. That is an important part for them. Your financial statements are needed to show the corporate tax that you pay.
To the government.
to the government. So it's an important part as far as the government is concerned. So that is one aspect that we can look at. Others would say, okay, we also need employment records. That is why most organizations have like the HR departments or HR personnel to run on that human resource aspect of the organization. You need information about key details about each and every employee, not just with the number of employees you have or the segments they have. You need information about people. You need to show records about the benefits that people are entitled to in the organization. You need to show records of things that would need to happen in terms of resolution, in terms of rules in the organization. When I come to work late, what should happen? This should be recorded.
Yeah. So,
okay, when I'm resigning, for instance, what are the benefits that I'm entitled to? So these are quite important.
I would love to ask this question. Is like the like when people come, the regulations, like when you come, you sign in, those types are classified as records.
Yes, these are important avenues. Like you said, these are like rules that you can have. Different organizations will call them different names. Some will call them like standing orders. Others will have like what you call a staff manual.
Yeah.
Most organizations, in fact, will first serve you a staff manual before, in fact, you start proper work to understand that this is what is applicable here and this is what is not applicable as far as work is concerned. So those records are valuable.
Yeah, so in as much as record keeping is very vital as far as business and entrepreneurial development is concerned in Africa. We have some businesses that are not keeping record, but then we'll come back from this break and then we will discuss about that. Welcome back from that short commercial break. Just to remind you, you are watching Business in Africa here on Africa Renaissance TV with me, Muhammed B Badjie. If you have not subscribed, of course, go and hit the button. Just subscribe to our channel for more interesting episodes that are coming your way from the TV. So if you not follow us, also follow us on our Facebook page and also on our Instagram. So we're talking about record keeping in business. Record keeping is very vital as far as business and entrepreneurial development is concerned. So welcome back, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Yes, just to continue. Now we will discuss. I think now let me start from this side. And I start from this side when we were started. So B Badjie, take us. Why do you think most businesses in Africa are not keeping records?
Well, there could be a simple, straightforward answer to say people don't know the reason, people don't know how to keep records, or people don't know the importance of keeping records. That could have been that first answer. But on a straightforward level, it's quite important. And then something as important as record keeping, if it is not done by a businessman, especially talking of the small-scale businesses, mostly at corporate level, it is kept in one way or the other. But at a general level, when a businessman fails to keep record, and one of the reasons that why this could be is the ignorance of the importance of keeping records. Okay, some people tend to get into business with the view of making profit, and the notion that okay, when I do this business, I'm gonna make profit, like everyone else is making profit. But they tend to skip that aspect of understanding that record keeping forms an important part of my drive to towards profitability. So that tends to hold some people back. Others is the inability to keep record. It's not everyone that could keep record. Record keeping too, has some techniques. It's not just anyone that can write an ABC is keeping record. As far as business is concerned, you keep records, but this has to be specific, and that is why we tend to understand that there is an expert profession in accountancy, and accountants generally are people that have that role of keeping record for organizations. So that systematic way of keeping record that my brother will tell you, the accountant will tell you that bookkeeping sometimes is an integral part of it, even though record keeping goes beyond bookkeeping, but it's an important part. So to some people, they don't just know how to do it. Like, how do you classify all my classes of assets? How do I classify them? How do I say these are my assets, these are my expenses, these are liabilities for me as a businessman. This is my revenue, and that could be my profit. It could be straightforward from the speaking here, but it could be that tedious sometimes for someone.
Sure.
And lastly, what can stop people from actually keeping record sometimes is the perceived understanding, perceived belief that record keeping is difficult. So as far as some are concerned, that for some businessmen, one of the reasons why they don't keep record is the belief that record keeping is for professional accountants. I am telling this that anyone, as any businessman, can keep record. It's just a matter of understanding the need for it and how to do this.
Now, I will draw you back to the types of records that you discuss about. The importance of inventory management. You know, at some point, you record your stocks, you record the amount of inventory you have. So, what do you say to that about inventory? Yes.
Well, inventory records, some will say supply and inventory records. So these are important types of record keeping you have in any business. It's like whatever stock that you dealing with, as far as if that is your product line of sales, it's an important part to keep record on that. That is the basis of your business. This is like your brainchild. This is what really keeps you going. If it is a country, these are your people, okay, as far as business is concerned. So keeping that is an important part for any business to prosper, because that way you are able to keep track of the cost that you incur on them as a business, the cost that you incur on the human resources that is needed to support that production, and whatever you're going to need to make profit on that. So it's an important element in that.
So inventory also is very vital. But at some point, businessmen will think having not understating your record will lead you to pay so much tax. I think this is a problem that most businesses are also facing as far as not keeping records is concerned. Because some people will say, if I keep proper record, then therefore when it comes to taxation, then I'll pay higher tax.
This is quite opposite.
I think that's the quite opposite. So now to you, Mr. Basiru, what remedies do you think needs to be employed in order to induce or of course encourage businessmen to keep records?
Yeah, I think I would answer this question using the things that he has been saying right now. The reason why people generally don't keep record. I think once we get to the root cause of the problem, it would be easier for us to come up with remedies to ensure that these problems are actually eradicated. So first, he said generally most of them is because they are actually not aware.
Not aware, so.
Yeah, so I think what we are doing right now is just a remedy, I can say.
Sure.
Like, because at the end of the day, when generally as human beings, we tend to go with our emotions and actually our logical reasoning to some extent. So when you don't know the importance of something, you tend to ignore it because you feel like you are wasting valuable time and effort doing things that are actually not relevant. So I think if we keep on doing this mass, advocation and sensitization, for people like small scale businesses to some extent, because for the corporates and maybe partnership business, they generally have some way of recording things.
So
but for the sole proprietors, the small scale businesses, they generally don't keep records. So I think if we talk to them about the importance of what record is all about, how important it is for their business, I think it is one way to eradicate. The other thing is also about the notion, their preconceived notion that record keeping is difficult. Actually, it's not. Like, okay, if you feel like it is difficult, hire an accountant. I think we have so many people, even from high school. I think our curriculum from high school, you get to know a lot about how you actually do your recording. And yes, let's make the best use of technology. I think now there are a lot of accounting softwares, and you have all these tools actually that are there. And another thing I would even say, things are coming hopefully soon, like for the wave. It's also another way of bookkeeping, I can say, because if all your transactions, probably when we activate the merchant payment and you are able to, buy your things, for free, like using your Wave wallet, you are just able to pay everything. The things are recorded. At the end of the day, when you need the data, you can always go back to those recent transactions and then retrieve it. So I think I would say 4 steps, okay, to just sum up everything. First, get serious. Okay. Second, start now. Stop procrastination. That is just the father of all evil. If you say, okay, tomorrow I will record this one, or maybe this transaction happened, you don't want to record, you say, okay, I will wait till later when I'm free or whatsoever. The moment you start doing that, because when we talk about record keeping, it's not just record keeping, but good record keeping is also important, because at the end of the day, if you are keeping records, but you are keeping some transaction, omitting others, the others double recording it whatsoever, it can also lead to other things at the end of the day.
Sure.
So I think these are just general remedies that I would say. So for the third one, I would say, like, as I said, use best like technology. Okay, if we start now, we make best use of technology, get serious, and then probably use the 10 minutes rule. Like, for example, if you have not been doing it from the start, now you are just starting. Like, whenever you are free, probably block 10 minutes from your time. Try to, re-record the previous things that have been happening.
Sure.
But the moment we do it, probably, in the next, like, whatsoever,
yeah, those are very important. Advocacy, of course, advocacy is very important as far as inculcating knowledge. As far as the importance of record keeping is concerned, this is what we're doing. This is what Business in Africa is about. Of course, you can sponsor us in order to continue this program as we are going towards impacting the society to develop business and business entrepreneurship in Africa. B Badjie, he talks about what we can do to encourage and induce entrepreneurs to record transactions. Do you think a government has a special role to play as far as this course is concerned? And then if there is any, what is it?
Government is if not the biggest stakeholder to every business out there. Government has the most interest.
Yeah, government, I'll borrow the words from Alassane Jobe. He said they are the custodians of all business.
Of all businesses. And because they have quite deal of interest. Government's interest in business, I want to start from that end. It's not just in the taxation element of it. Government has that legal backing or legal interest in what you do. Government wants to know what you're doing. How is it legal in that state that you are operating in? Government wants to see if whatever product you are dealing with, it is safe for her people. Government wants to see if what you are doing is it exploiting or promoting growth. So for government to know this can only happen if you are keeping records. Government is not present in your business. They can not only make reference to logical choices or decisions on your business based on the record you provide them. So it's important for you to keep a good record system, and for the government, what the government need to do, especially coming to the local frontier in the Gambia, it's an important avenue for governments to take this strides. Like you said, one of the key roles the government can play in terms of record keeping for businesses, it's creating awareness. And government can go along on awareness campaigns. This could be through different adverts, through trainings that they can provide to businessmen, and then all over the country they could do this systematically. So that is one way. And another thing is that government could also lessen the restrictions as far as regulations are concerned. One of the reasons why some people don't really keep good records is the fear that there is a witch hunt on my business from the government. So if government is to complain and then make people understand that, okay, whatever we are doing, this is for the benefit of everyone, people will tend to understand this. So that is a role from government that is expected from the government. And lastly, when governments want to have that actual records of businesses, they need to make sure that those administrative bottlenecks are reduced. For instance, if I want to pay tax as a businessman, this could be complicated. If there is any complication in this process of paying tax, I am forced to, as a businessman, to come up with my own mechanisms of dodging the system. So as the simpler it is for the government system of collecting tax from businessmen, the easier it would be for businessmen to pay tax. And this will encourage record keeping. So I think at a general level, government needs to also lessen those administrative bottlenecks as far as record keeping is concerned for businessmen.
Government is very vital in all aspects of business development as far as the topic that we discussing. So I would want to ask you to give advice to as far as record keeping is concerned, but then you've made mention of very vital information, a very vital part of record keeping, that is the use of technology. And then you've also mentioned about the emergence of wave, of course. I think I'll dwell into that. Can you take us through the activities of wave? Because of course there are a lot of speculations around Wave and its activities. So take us through your activities personally as far as Wave is concerned.
All right. For me, actually, I am a territory lead for Wave, and I know many might not understand what territory lead is, but I oversee their field operations in URR. But recently, I have been brought back to help refine the network in Combo here. Okay, the Wave, as a mobile wallet, they have a lot of products. When we started in the Gambia back in September, we were having only one product, that is sending to Senegal, because our first market was in Tangier. That's where we opened our first agents. So that time there was nothing like bill pay, or maybe this international remittance, even the domestic transfer, because you cannot say you are sending money from Tangier to other places where there are no agents, where you cannot go and withdraw. So as things were progressing, we went to Serekunda, we went to Banjul, Bilkama, and then the domestic started coming. That's when we introduced the bill pay. Now you are able to buy airtime. You are, like, for example, let me just contextualize this to record keeping, like how mobile wallet can help you keep good records. So for example, if you are using these mobile wallets to do your, probably, let's say your employees, they are entitled to data allowance or whatsoever, you can use the mobile wallet service to buy airtime for them. Probably it's like every month each employee is having so and so. So you just use that to buy airtime for them. By doing that, actually, you are keeping a record of actually this individual with this number so and so have been given what they are actually owed.
Yeah,
you understand?
Most of the people have the questions around the security of Wave. Now, take us through the security aspect of Wave.
Wave, as many people generally think, is like, they think it's a Senegalese company. Wave is an American company. Okay, they just started operation in Senegal. Now they are in Mali, they are in Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Uganda. There are other things that I cannot discuss on the channel here. But to just tell you about the security, is like, we all know, Senegal, Mali, those other markets are way bigger than Gambia. And they are, central banks are actually like, always very concerned about security and safety of their people. So if Wave can penetrate, they are going everything fine. I think that in itself should be a testimony that Wave is actually secure. So to add a little bit on that, like the application, you have that QR code whereby when you go to an agent to do deposit or withdrawal, they scan. So that QR code, you can see it refreshes every 30 seconds. So when you are logging into your application, like when you are creating it, you are asked to create a security pin code. Okay, even when you put there an easy pin, the algorithm would detect, and then they will notify you that this is an easy pin. Try to change it. Once you put your pin, you confirm. Those are all security steps that Wave is taking. And also for the QR cards, for those people that are not having smartphones, we give them these QR cards. So for the QR cards also, like even if it gets lost, somebody cannot just pick it up and go and withdraw your money. Because once they go to an agent, the agent, when he scans the QR card, you will get a validation code at the number which is registered with the card, which you have to give to the agent so that the agent can have access to your account.
So I asked about Wave because I think the emergence of Wave can push for more
entrepreneurial development in Africa. Like, we've been to India together, and we've seen how businesses are using the Google Pay, the PayPal, the Paytm to do transactions and making it easier. And of course, making accounting recording also very, very much simpler in those areas. Now, to you, my other boss, because I'm talking to my bosses. So, take us. What advice would you have for businessmen as far as record keeping is concerned?
For businessmen, for record keeping, I think that should be the cornerstone. It's like to every development there should be a foundation. So I would say to the success story of every business, there should be record keeping. You would need, for every businessman would need to make sensible business decisions. You want to, as far as growth is concerned, as far as attainment of your goals, as far as employee information, whatever you need to do as a business, you would need to have that economic decision making. And you cannot do this without proper record keeping. It's like the tendency that we always say, we want policy-based, research-based policies as far as governments are concerned at state level. As a businessman, you must make decisions based on your records. For you to make logical choices, you must know what is the worth of your assets, which can never be fair, true and fair without proper recording. You want to know the expenses, your actual expenses for a particular period. This cannot be attained without proper recording. You want to know the liabilities that you owe other people. This cannot be ascertained without recording. You want to know your profitability. You cannot establish this without proper record. So for a businessman, recording is that weapon that you need to turn the dice to whatever level you want to go. So, and I think it's an important part. So every businessman needs to be able to equip themselves to be able to record as far as they're concerned, or hire someone that can do the recordings for you. Now we have, as far as the Gambia is concerned, that level of exposure from accountants, from finance experts, like even from at the high school level, people are able to do this. So I think that has given people that avenue to actually attain that record keeping sensitivity.
So record keeping is very vital as far as entrepreneurial development. So Mr. Basiru, what would be your final remarks as far as our topic is concerned?
I think just to remind the viewers and then the small businesses out there that record keeping is an integral and vital part of your business. If you really want to make a lot of profits, or maybe you want to grow your business to another level, it's always important to know where you are, to be able to know where you are heading to. And it will be very difficult to do all that without record keeping.
Sure.
So if you have not been keeping records, start now, as I said. Okay? If you really cannot do it, we have avenues, that you can always learn from. And for the government and other stakeholders also, as you said, they can always step in to ensure that this thing happens. So I think I would just summarize there.
Yeah, that's very vital. And then, record keeping is very important as far as entrepreneurial development. So to you, a businessman watching us, start now, as he said, start recording and then record your transaction to the government and other stakeholders. Support entrepreneurs by providing sensitization and actual trainings to improve them in the keeping of records. This is all from us. This is In Africa here on Africa Renaissance TV. Just to remind you, this program is open for partnership and sponsorship. You can contact us, and of course, we'll be glad to have discussion with you on this effect. Till we come your way next time, I am Muhammed Mustafa Seliba.